Morning, everyone. Yeah, welcome to Adbond Mental Fitness Session. This is another episode titled Becoming a Person of Lifelong Learning. So, like I mentioned before we kicked off the session, let's be open-minded. These are things we all know, but for every of the things we're going to be emphasizing on, let's pick one or two things we know we can apply. Because one of the things we're trying to ensure is whatever we're also training in this session, we ensure that they are applicable and practicable things. So to go to our opening quotes, we're going to be hearing from Leonardo da Vinci. He says, learning never exhausts the mind. If you know Leonardo da Vinci, is the man behind the most famous celebrity, Mona Lisa. It's a picture, right? Mona Lisa has been reigning for the past 500 years. You know, it's a picture of esteem value. It's carried with a very high esteem. So in your meantime, you can look at this character, Leonardo da Vinci. He's a sculptor, but his prominence is really into the painting aspect. But learning never exhausts the mind. Whatever we learn, we are happy we can apply them. You know, when we're open to new things, it's further broadens the mind. It goes as low as knowing 2 plus 2. Knowing your multiplication table. We can all attest to that. When you're on the assembly or when you get to classes very early in the morning, you know, in your early primary studies, when the teacher makes everyone stand up and you're reciting your multiplication table, if you are not able to recite it, even though you might not feel so bad about it, you don't feel fulfilled somehow. But knowing it gives you assurance that, oh, I'm escaping this beating or this punishment today. So we're going to be going to what is lifelong learning. It basically means to adopt a mindset of continuous growth and development. And when we say becoming a person of lifelong learning, that basically means you as someone, you're adopting a mindset of continuous growth and development. You are inspired or you are actively participating in ensuring you are engaging or coping yourself with new skills, new experience, new knowledge. And to be able to do that, to be able to want new skills, new experience, new knowledge, you have to be open-minded. You have to be curious. Don't mind that saying that says curiosity kills the cat, right? Curiosity towards the right thing is a very healthy habit. All you just need to do is you're curious towards the right direction. And while you're doing this, you're going to be facing challenges and opportunities as well. So provided you're able to embrace this opportunity, you are assured to be able to overcome the challenges that comes your way. So to the next slide, it says, how do we become a person of lifelong learning? Number one, you have to learn to cultivate a growth mindset. It says, embrace the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. Embrace the belief that your ability and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. At least one of the most intelligent entity on earth as of today, largely known, is still the human, right? With the use of the human brain, there's no limit to what we can achieve. Dolphin is one of those animals that is also, brilliant, but what have they been able to do? So we humans are still top of that chain. If you look at the picture there, it's a tree, right? And before it becomes a tree, it starts as a seed. And for it to even become a tree, a farmer probably or someone has to pick that seed, water it day after day. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be facing challenges by growing that seed. There are going to be weather conditions that are not favorable, right? Is it that you're planting the seed, you are expecting that, oh, by this so point in time, this tree should have gotten to this height. But you're noticing that, oh, it has a stunted growth, right? You know there are things you need to do to ensure that whatever is causing the stunted growth is out of the way. So those are failures and challenges you meet on the way. Even personally as an individual, you want to get access to new skill, new things, but there are some impediments on the road. So you just have to ensure that you're finding time and you're putting the proper measures in place to combat whatever is serving as an hindrance. So you have to view opportunities and know that you are accepting those opportunities. You're going to be facing challenges, and rather than running away, you have to face it. That gives you room for growth. So you have to cultivate a growth mindset. For those of us that are aware, we know there's a fixed mindset, there's a growth mindset. When you have a fixed mindset, you're more like comfortable wherever you find yourself at every point in time. So try to cultivate a growth mindset. That is like the first criteria for you to become a person of lifelong learning. Number 2 says set learning goals. Define clear goals for what you want to learn. Define clear goals for what you want to learn. You are a professional in your field, right? What you do at every point in time, more like work outlive people, right? And there are different ways a particular work you're doing can be done over time. There are new technology introduced, especially if you're in the tech space. There's a language today that is being used, probably Python, there's React.js. There are thousands of languages you have to keep updating yourself with to stay relevant in the market. And it doesn't apply only to tech people, it applies to you as a professional. Tools you have to introduce yourself to. Majority of us in the workplace are more aware of, let's say, an operating system such as Microsoft Word. There are things, there are other ones we might have not even heard of. There is Ubuntu, we have Linux, we have, there are other ones that are many, iOS as well. As funny as it is, the fact that you are not aware of that limits your usage of those newly introduced. So it is important that you are able to set a goal or towards your direction, towards your career path as a professional. You're starting as an accountant. There are things you need to do to get to the top chain of what an accountant is. You're starting as a marketer, you want to get to the top chain of what kind of marketer you want to get yourself to. You're an HR, you're in the customer service department, whatever department you find yourself. You have to look at the career path, look at the things you need to do. Am I getting certified in this area? These courses I need to take. What do I need to get them done? So, because what those things do is they show you a guided path. They also lead you to network as well. We'll get to that part. So you have to set learning goals, whereby what this makes is it enables you to be able to master new skills. Master new skills to keep your relevance. It is very, very important. Number 3 is pursue formal and informal education. The only form of education, the education that exists, is not the only one you get within the 4 walls of a school, within the 4 walls of an higher institution. Enroll in courses or certification programs to gain structured experience. You have to intentional practice and apply these things you're learning as well, so that you don't forget. Because what is the essence of taking the courses, of getting the certification, of going through the stress of learning these things and not applying them? So you have to ensure to intentionally practice and apply them, and with practice comes perfection. So it is important. The image depicts a set of people in a class setting, while there's a set of people like right there in a garden, and this can happen as a form of course you might have taken. After that course session, networking is required. You might have taken a virtual course, and at the end of the whole course, everybody is coming around after execution of each of their personal projects. So it is important you pursue formal and informal education. After you've gone to school, what is the next thing? The next things you are going to be learning are in an informal setting. So it is very, very, very important. Number 4 says engaging in networking and knowledge sharing. Join communities of like-minded individuals, attend seminars, participate in discussions, right? Engaging in networking and knowledge sharing. The knowledge you have is not enough, right? The knowledge within your like-minded people is what you try to tap in. There are people in the field that you are in that have been in that field for years. Probably you're just practicing, you're in your first year, 5th year, 6th year. A first-year person can learn from someone of 5 years. That is when mentorship comes in. These are people that are going to be showing you guided paths of how to go about things. So it is important you engage in networking and knowledge sharing. It's very, very important. Embrace change and adaptability. One of the major reasons of lifelong learning is to be able to embrace change and adaptability. And to be able to adapt to different certain conditions is one major survival skill you get to have for someone that is committed into lifelong learning, because things changes, right? Like I mentioned, in the tech space, if you're using a particular language and in the next 2-3 years a new language is coming into vogue and you're not subduing yourself to learning that language, right? It's about carrying out an assignment in a different way. But if you don't cope yourself with the skills of what you need to do with that new language, your relevance will fade out. A new set of people will take your place. So for you to be able to catch up, the likes of the models of phones we have now, at the time we used to have button phones, Nokia, massive producing companies that are no longer in existence because of they didn't embrace change and they didn't adapt over time. iPhone is something, iOS, as we all know. We have Android still pushing his way and still trying to fight for relevance. We have iOS and a lot of other new changes that are going to be coming over time. So stay flexible and open to change. The ability to adapt is really, really crucial in a fast evolving world. At every point in time, people are researching and finding ways on how to do things differently. And if you don't embrace the change adaptability, you'll be kicked off your foot. Then let's look at the benefit of lifelong learning. What are the benefits? What do I gain from being committed to being a person of lifelong learning? You have improved adaptability, you have career advancement, you have increased confidence because you can stand anywhere basically to speak because the knowledge is there, right? You have enhanced problem solving skills. And one of the things learning does to you, it gives you the ability to be able to apply what you know to solve a problem, right? It might not be as easy as it looks, but because you've subdued yourself to learning, you subdued yourself to taking that course. When the problems arise, you are able to tackle them because you've developed something called a problem solving skill. Then lastly is improved social connection. We've been mentioning learning. The learning does not require just reading alone. To your surprise, reading is not the best form of learning. You have practice. You have reading. You can't take reading out totally because to take access to an information, you have to read, of course. But practice makes it a lot more practicable. So improve social connection. With all the above we've mentioned, it comes with different vast survival skill, ability to be able to do critical thinking. You have resourcefulness. Through this, you can innovate and be creative. Resilience is also something you catch on along the way. So let's look at recommendation and conclusion. Before we get to this recommendation and conclusion, we have to go back to the very beginning. How does learning start? Like I said, before infants are being brought to the world, they start learning right from the pregnancy. You hear a pregnant woman, oh, the baby is kicking, then the father goes very close to the belly. This basically means that, the lifelong learning we're talking about. Some of us at this age, we know how hard it is for us to say, let me sit down, read this thing, let me sit down, take this course. It's because somewhere, somehow, it wasn't done right. So the first 5 years of a child's life, and what we can do to change that is what we've tried to bring to our awareness. So you can make a change for the next generation coming, because the early childhood is very, very, very important. Whatever we inculcate into them, it might not make sense, but just make sense to how you know that if a parent speak Yoruba, that baby would grow up to prominently speak Yoruba. If two couples speak Chinese, the baby will grow up to prominently speak Chinese. So whatever we're doing, no matter how small it is very, very, very important. So those early stage, the childhood, it really has a lot of effects to the next 50 years. 50, 60, you might start losing your cognitive, whatever it is, but it's still, there's still sharpness and something old people even try to learn. But the first 5 years of baby's life is very, 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 very important. And let's ensure we do our part to ensure that everything we've discussed from the beginning of this training can be achievable. Because to form habits, we don't know how many topics we've had on habits here. With our facilitators just saying that you should have made a difference. Every one of us should have started reading the Proverbs. Every one of us should have started, doing the things that I've recommended from each of this training. So the closing quote says, commit yourself to lifelong learning. The most valuable asset you ever have in your mind is what you put into it. The mind is an asset. You don't need to put money into your mind to buy something, right? Except the things you feed into it, right? And this was said by Albert Einstein. So thank you for listening. And We'll be taking questions now. So to those online, drop your comment, drop your question in the chat box, and they'll be attended to. Thank you very much.